Welcome to Cosmo Publishing. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to learn all about self-publishing. We are a turnkey quality service provider, from interior formatting to custom covers and everything in between, including book marketing and advertising. It is the company that books a lot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cosmo Publishing Podcast, where we talk about expanding your publishing journey with clarity instead of complexity. I'm your host, Gürhan, co-founder of Cosmo Publishing and Cosmodio books. Today's episode is about self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and in this section, we will be talking about what self-publishing actually is. Self-publishing is often misunderstood because it is described in extremes. Some portray it as a total freedom and instant success. Others dismiss it as unprofessional or chaotic. In reality, self-publishing is neither of those things. It is a publishing model where the author acts as the decision maker and project manager while outsourcing specific tasks as needed. At its core, self-publishing means the author retains ownership of their rights. The author decides when the book is published, how it is priced, where it is distributed, and how it is marketed. This level of control is the defining feature of self-publishing, and it shapes every other aspect of the process. In a self-publishing model, the author is responsible for assembling the publishing team. This can include editors, cover designers, formatters, and marketers. These professionals are hired directly, and the author pays for their services upfront or per project. There is no gatekeeper deciding whether the book is worthy of publication. The decision to publish belongs entirely to the author. This independence is both the strength and the challenge of self-publishing. On one hand, authors move at their own pace. A book can be published as soon as it is ready. Updates can be made quickly. Pricing can be adjusted. Metadata can be refined. The book remains flexible and responsive to the market. On the other hand, responsibility is absolute. Quality control rests on the author's decisions. A poorly edited or poorly designed book reflects directly on the author, not on a publishing house. This is why successful self-publishing is not about doing everything alone, but about making informed choices and investing wisely. Financially, self-publishing operates on a different model than traditional publishing. There is no advance. Instead, the author invests upfront in production and earns a higher percentage of each sale. Royalties are significantly higher, especially for ebooks and print-on-demand formats. This means earnings grow with volume and longevity rather than being capped by a contract. Self-publishing also offers speed. Books can be published in weeks or months rather than years. This allows authors to respond to trends, reader feedback, and creative momentum. Series can be released strategically. Backlist titles can be refreshed. Control over timing creates opportunity. Another key aspect of self-publishing is data transparency. Authors can see sales numbers, trends, and performance directly. This allows for experimentation and learning. Decisions are based on feedback rather than speculation. Over time, authors develop a deeper understanding of their audience. However, self-publishing is not passive. Visibility must be built. Marketing does not happen automatically. While platforms provide access, discovery still requires effort. Some authors thrive in this environment. Others find it overwhelming. Self-publishing rewards consistency, learning, and patience. It is also important to note that self-publishing is not a single path. Some authors publish only digitally. Others focus on print. Some distribute widely. Others concentrate on one platform. The model is flexible by design. Self-publishing works best for authors who value autonomy, adaptability, and long-term growth. It suits those who want to build a publishing business rather than hand control to an external entity. Understanding what self-publishing actually is allows authors to evaluate it honestly. It is not easier or harder than traditional publishing. It is different. And that difference matters when choosing the path that fits your goals. After talking about self-publishing, let's talk about how traditional publishing actually works. Traditional publishing is often imagined as a clear, prestigious pathway where a strong manuscript is discovered, supported, and widely distributed. While that version exists in some cases, the reality is more layered and less predictable. Understanding how traditional publishing actually works helps authors evaluate it realistically rather than emotionally. In a traditional publishing model, the author does not publish the book themselves. Instead, they license their rights to a publishing house. That publisher then takes responsibility for editing, design, printing, distribution, and sales. In return, the publisher controls many decisions and keeps a significant portion of the revenue. The process usually begins with querying. Authors submit proposals or manuscripts to literary agents, not directly to publishers. Agents act as gatekeepers and negotiators. Securing an agent can take months or years, and rejection is common, even for strong manuscripts. This stage alone filters out a large number of books before they ever reach publishers. If an agent accepts a project, they submit it to publishers they believe are a good fit. Publishers then evaluate the book based not only on quality, but also on marketability, timing, and internal priorities. Many well-written books are rejected because they do not align with current trends or sales expectations. When a publisher makes an offer, the author signs a contract that defines rights, royalties, and obligations. Advances are often highlighted as a major benefit. However, advances vary widely and are not guaranteed. Many advances are modest and paid in stages, sometimes over long periods. Royalties in traditional publishing are typically lower than in self-publishing. Authors receive a percentage of net or list price depending on format. Print royalties are often small, and ebook royalties, while higher, still represent a fraction of the book's total revenue. Authors must earn back their advance before receiving additional royalties. Creative control is another important consideration. Publishers make final decisions about cover design, pricing, formatting, and sometimes even content. Authors may be consulted, but they do not have final say. This can be beneficial for authors who want guidance, but frustrating for those with a strong vision. Timelines in traditional publishing are long. From contract to publication, it is common for a book to take 18 months or more to reach the market. This delay affects momentum, relevance, and flexibility. Adjustments are slow and opportunities can be missed. Distribution is often cited as a strength of traditional publishing. Publishers have access to bookstores, libraries, and media channels. However, distribution does not guarantee placement or promotion. Most traditionally published books receive limited marketing support unless they are lead titles. Authors are still expected to contribute to promotion. Another overlooked reality is that traditional publishing does not guarantee longevity. Many books are available briefly and then removed from shelves. Once initial sales decline, focus shifts to newer titles. Backlist support varies widely. Traditional publishing can be a strong fit for certain authors. It may suit those who value external validation, prefer collaborative structures, or target markets where traditional credibility matters. It may also suit books that require institutional support or physical retail emphasis. At the same time, it is not a universal solution. It involves trade-offs in control, speed, earnings, and flexibility. Understanding these trade-offs clearly is essential before deciding whether traditional publishing aligns with your goals. In the next section, we will explore how self-publishing works in practice and how it differs structurally from traditional models, so you can compare both paths with clarity instead of assumptions. So let's get into the control rights and creative freedom of book publishing. Control is one of the most important differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Authors often hear that self-publishing offers total freedom while traditional publishing takes control away. But the reality is more nuanced. Control exists on a spectrum, and understanding how it functions in practice is essential for making an informed choice. In self-publishing, control begins with ownership. The author retains all rights to the work unless they intentionally license them. This includes print rights, ebook rights, audio rights, translation rights, and adaptation rights. Because the author owns these rights, they decide how and when each format is produced, distributed, updated, or discontinued. Nothing happens to the book without the author's approval. Creative freedom is a direct extension of this ownership. The author selects the editor, cover designer, formatter, and marketing approach. Feedback can be sought and collaboration is encouraged, but the final decision always belongs to the author, and this allows the book to reflect a clear creative vision rather than a compromise shaped by external priorities. Control also affects how quickly changes can be made. If a cover is not converting well, it can be redesigned. If a description is unclear, it can be rewritten. If pricing needs adjustment, it can be changed within hours. This responsiveness allows self-published authors to learn from the market and adapt continuously. Pricing is one of the most tangible forms of control. Self-published authors can test different price points, run promotions, and respond to reader behavior without permission. This flexibility is especially important for series, backlist optimization, and long-term strategy. Timing is another major factor. In self-publishing, books are released when they are ready. There is no seasonal catalog or fixed schedule imposed by an external entity. This allows authors to publish quickly, release books strategically, and maintain creative momentum. In traditional publishing, control operates differently because rights are licensed rather than retained. When an author signs a contract, they grant the publisher specific rights for a defined period. During that time, the publisher controls how those rights are exercised. The author no longer has unilateral authority over the book. Creative decisions in traditional publishing are collaborative, but final authority usually rests with the publisher. Covers are designed to fit market expectations, branding strategies, and retailer preferences. Authors may provide input, but they do not have final approval in most cases. Pricing is also controlled by the publisher. Prices are set according to distribution agreements, retail norms, and internal calculations. Changes are slow and often impossible once a book is in the system. This can limit flexibility, especially when market conditions shift. Timing is publisher-driven. Books are scheduled according to production cycles, seasonal lists, and marketing calendars. From contract to publication, timelines of 18 months or longer are common. While this structure can support coordinated launches, it also reduces responsiveness. Rights management is one of the most significant long-term considerations. Traditional contracts often lock rights for many years. If a publisher chooses not to actively exploit certain rights, such as audio or foreign editions, the author may be unable to act independently. Rights reversion is possible, but it usually depends on sales thresholds and formal requests. Creative freedom in traditional publishing often increases with success. Established authors may gain more influence over covers, pricing, and marketing. Debut authors typically have less leverage. This imbalance is not personal, it is structural. Neither model is inherently superior. Control brings responsibility. Self-publishing requires authors to make informed decisions and accept the consequences. Traditional publishing offers structure, expertise, and validation, but requires compromise and patience. The key question is not which model offers more control, but how much control you want and what you are willing to trade for it. Some authors thrive with autonomy, others prefer shared decision-making. Understanding control, rights, and creative freedom clearly allows authors to choose intentionally rather than emotionally. Publishing paths are tools, not identities. In the next section, we will examine money, royalties, and long-term earnings, and how financial realities differ between self-publishing and traditional publishing over time. The important factors of writing and publishing books: money, royalties, and long-term earnings. Money is often the deciding factor when authors compare self-publishing and traditional publishing, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood areas. Conversations about earnings are frequently reduced to advances versus royalties, but the real difference lies in how income is structured over time and who controls its growth. In traditional publishing, income usually begins with an advance. This advance is a payment against future royalties, not a bonus. It is often paid in installments, such as on signing, on manuscript delivery, and on publication. While advances can be significant in some cases, many are modest, especially for debut authors. It is also important to understand that the advance must be earned back through sales before additional royalties are paid. Royalty rates in traditional publishing are typically low compared to self-publishing. Print royalties are often a small percentage of the list price, and ebook royalties, while higher, are still a fraction of the total sale. The publisher covers production and distribution costs, but in exchange, they keep the majority of the revenue. Once the advance is earned out, royalties may continue, but many books never reach that point. Another factor is transparency. Royalty reporting in traditional publishing is slow and limited. Statements are usually issued semi-annually, sometimes quarterly. Authors have little visibility into day-to-day performance and limited ability to analyze trends or respond quickly. Income is reactive rather than strategic. In self-publishing, the financial model is reversed. There is no advance. Instead, the author invests upfront in editing, design, formatting, and sometimes marketing. In return, the author earns a much higher percentage of each sale. Ebook royalties are especially high, and print on demand allows authors to earn profit per copy rather than per contract. This model places risk at the beginning, but it also removes a ceiling on earnings. Once production costs are recovered, revenue continues to flow directly to the author. Each additional sale increases profit rather than paying down an advance. Over time, this creates compounding potential. Another key difference is speed. Self-published authors are paid monthly in most cases. This creates consistent cash flow and allows for quicker reinvestment into future projects. Authors can see what works, adjust pricing, test promotions, and allocate resources based on real data. Long-term earnings also behave differently. Traditional publishing income often peaks early. A book receives attention at launch, then fades as focus shifts to newer titles. Backlist support varies widely. Some books continue earning, but many are deprioritized. Self-publishing favors longevity. Backlist titles can earn steadily for years. Series can generate ongoing read-through. Pricing strategies can be adjusted to revive older books. Income grows horizontally rather than vertically. Control over pricing plays a major role here. Self-published authors can experiment with price points, discounts, and bundles. They can respond to market changes quickly. Traditional publishing pricing is fixed and slow to change, limiting adaptability. Another important consideration is rights exploitation. In self-publishing, authors can monetize audio, translations, and special editions independently. In traditional publishing, these rights are often licensed as part of the contract, sometimes without guaranteed action. When rights are inactive, earning potential stalls. It is also worth noting that income stability differs. Traditional publishing can feel safer upfront due to the advance, but long-term earnings are uncertain. Self-publishing income can fluctuate, especially early on, but becomes more predictable as catalogs grow. Neither model guarantees wealth. Both require effort, patience, and strategic thinking. The difference lies in ownership of outcomes. In self-publishing, earnings are directly tied to the author's decisions and learning curve. In traditional publishing, earnings are shaped by institutional priorities. Choosing between these models requires honesty about risk tolerance, time horizon, and financial goals. Some authors value the upfront security of an advance. Others value long-term control and scalability. Understanding money, royalties, and long-term earnings clearly allows authors to choose a path that supports not just their book, but their career. And let's talk about 3 factors that affect your earnings and not many people talk about: speed, timelines, and market responsiveness. Speed is one of the most underestimated differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing, yet it has a profound impact on an author's career. Speed is not just about how fast a book is released. It affects relevance, momentum, learning, and the ability to respond to readers and the market in real time. In traditional publishing, timelines are long by design. From the moment a contract is signed, it is common for a book to take 18 months or more to reach publication. This timeline includes developmental editing, copy editing, cover design, catalog placement, sales presentations, printing, and distribution coordination. Each stage is scheduled well in advance and rarely flexible. This structure exists for a reason. Traditional publishers operate on seasonal catalogs and sales cycles. Books are planned alongside hundreds of others, and changes affect many departments. While this system allows for coordinated releases and physical retail planning, it also limits responsiveness. If market conditions shift, trends change, or reader interest moves during that long production window, adjustments are difficult or impossible. A book conceived for one moment may arrive in another. Authors must accept that loss of timing control as part of the trade-off. In self-publishing, speed works very differently. Once a manuscript is ready and production tasks are complete, a book can be published immediately. This allows authors to act on momentum, release books while interest is high, and respond to feedback without delay. Speed also affects learning. Self-published authors receive feedback quickly. Sales data, reader reviews, and performance indicators appear in near real time. This allows authors to test covers, descriptions, pricing, and positioning, then refine based on results. Learning cycles are short and continuous. Traditional publishing learning cycles are long. Feedback arrives months or years later, often filtered through sales reports or editorial commentary. Adjustments apply to future books rather than the current one. This slows adaptation. Market responsiveness is closely tied to speed. Self-published authors can respond to reader demand by releasing sequels faster, adjusting series order, or expanding popular themes. Traditional publishing requires approvals, scheduling, and resource allocation, which can delay response. Speed also impacts series strategy. In self-publishing, authors can release series installments rapidly, maintaining reader engagement and algorithmic momentum. In traditional publishing, long gaps between releases are common, which can weaken series continuity unless strong marketing support exists. Another aspect of speed is correction. Errors happen in publishing. In self-publishing, mistakes can be fixed quickly. Typos, formatting issues, or metadata problems can be corrected within hours or days. In traditional publishing, corrections are slow and sometimes not made at all, especially for print editions. However, speed is not universally positive. Rapid publishing without quality control can damage credibility. Self-publishing rewards speed only when paired with professionalism. The ability to move quickly is a tool, not a requirement. Traditional publishing's slower pace can benefit authors who prefer structure and distance from constant decision-making. The extended timeline allows for thorough editing and planning, though it comes at the cost of agility. Another consideration is personal pace. Some authors thrive on rapid cycles, others prefer slower, more deliberate processes. Speed should support creativity, not exhaust it. Market responsiveness also includes pricing and promotion. Self-published authors can adjust pricing, run promotions, or test strategies quickly. Traditional publishing promotions are planned far in advance and are difficult to change once set. Neither model is inherently superior in speed. The question is alignment. Authors who value flexibility, experimentation, and immediate feedback often prefer self-publishing. Authors who value structure, long planning horizons, and institutional pacing may prefer traditional publishing. Understanding how speed and timelines affect your creative and business goals helps clarify which model supports your working style. Speed shapes not only when a book is released, but how an author grows. In the next section, we will explore distribution, visibility, and industry access, and how each publishing path opens different doors. In this section, we are going to talk about distribution, visibility, and industry access. Distribution and visibility are often discussed together, but they are not the same thing. Distribution determines where a book can be found. Visibility determines whether anyone actually notices it. The difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing becomes especially clear when you look at how each model handles these two forces and what kind of industry access they provide. In traditional publishing, distribution is built into the system. Publishers already have established relationships with wholesalers, bookstores, libraries, and institutional buyers. This means a traditionally published book is automatically available through channels that are difficult for individual authors to access on their own. Now, bookstores can order it easily. Libraries recognize the publisher. Media outlets take the book more seriously because it comes through familiar pipelines. This built-in distribution is often seen as a major advantage, and in many ways it is. However, availability does not equal visibility. Just because a book can be ordered does not mean it will be promoted, displayed, or stocked. Most traditionally published books receive limited marketing support. Unless a book is designated as a lead title, visibility is often brief and concentrated around launch. Industry access in traditional publishing also follows a hierarchy. Publicists, sales reps, and media connections exist, but they are allocated selectively. Authors may gain access to reviews, awards, or speaking opportunities, but this is not guaranteed. Access depends on budget, internal priorities, and perceived commercial potential. In self-publishing, distribution works differently. Platforms like Amazon and other retailers provide direct access to readers without intermediaries. There is no gatekeeper deciding whether a book deserves shelf space. If the book meets technical requirements, it can be sold. Visibility in self-publishing is driven largely by algorithms, metadata, and marketing choices. This gives authors more control, but also more responsibility. Visibility must be created and maintained. It does not come automatically. Self-publishing also opens doors to digital visibility that traditional publishing does not always prioritize. Online advertising, search optimization, direct reader engagement, and rapid experimentation allow authors to influence discoverability directly. These tools can be powerful, but they require learning and consistency. Industry access in self-publishing looks different. It is less about institutional approval and more about audience connection. Successful self-published authors often build their own platforms, mailing lists, and communities. Access is earned through engagement rather than granted through hierarchy. Another important difference is international reach. Traditional publishers often focus heavily on primary markets and may not actively support global distribution unless the book shows strong performance. Self-publishing, especially when combined with wide distribution, allows authors to reach international readers more easily, even if sales volumes are modest. Libraries represent an interesting middle ground. Traditionally published books are easier for libraries to acquire, but self-published books distributed through proper channels can also reach libraries effectively. Visibility in libraries depends on metadata, demand, and distribution choices rather than publishing model alone. Physical retail access is another distinction. Traditional publishing has an advantage in brick-and-mortar stores, but even then, shelf space is limited and competitive. Self-published authors may have fewer opportunities in physical retail, but digital shelves are effectively infinite. Visibility over time also differs. Traditional publishing visibility often peaks early and declines quickly as attention moves to new titles. Self-publishing visibility can grow slowly and persist through backlist optimization, series development, and ongoing discovery. Neither model guarantees visibility. Both require effort. The difference lies in where that effort is applied. Traditional publishing focuses effort on securing access. Self-publishing focuses effort on activating access. Choosing between these models means deciding what kind of visibility you want to pursue and how much control you want over it. Some authors value institutional access and curated exposure. Others value direct connection and adaptability. Understanding how distribution, visibility, and industry access function in each model helps authors set realistic expectations. It also clarifies that success is not about choosing the right path universally, but about choosing the path that aligns with your strengths, goals, and tolerance for uncertainty. In the next section, we'll examine risk, stability, and career sustainability, and how each publishing path shapes the long-term arc of an author's work. I wanted to add 3 more topics, which I believe will be important for authors to know before we close our podcast: risk, stability, and career sustainability. Risk is present in every publishing path, but it shows up in different forms depending on whether an author chooses self-publishing or traditional publishing. Understanding where risk lives, how stability is created, and what sustainability actually looks like over time is essential for making a long-term career decision rather than a short-term emotional one. In traditional publishing, risk is often shifted away from the author at the beginning and concentrated later. The publisher takes on upfront costs for editing, design, printing, and distribution. This can feel safer, especially when an advance is involved. The author is not paying out of pocket, and the financial risk of production is absorbed by the publisher. However, this structure creates a different kind of risk. Once the book is published, the author has limited control over its future. If the book underperforms by the publisher's standards, support may be reduced or withdrawn entirely. Marketing budgets can disappear. Distribution focus can shift to newer titles. The author's career trajectory may be affected by decisions they cannot influence. Stability in traditional publishing is often tied to institutional support. Authors who consistently meet sales expectations may receive additional contracts, stronger marketing, and more visibility. Those who do not may struggle to secure future deals. This creates a dependency on external validation and internal publisher priorities. Career sustainability in traditional publishing can be uneven. Some authors build long, steady careers. Others experience brief visibility followed by silence. Because rights are licensed for long periods, authors may be unable to reposition or revive books that are no longer actively supported. Sustainability depends heavily on relationships, timing, and market trends. In self-publishing, risk appears earlier. Authors invest upfront in production and sometimes marketing without guaranteed return. This financial risk is real and should not be minimized. However, it is also finite. Once costs are covered, the book continues to earn without additional licensing barriers. Stability in self-publishing is built through ownership and accumulation. Each book becomes an asset that remains available indefinitely. Backlist titles continue to sell quietly. Series generate ongoing read-through. Income may fluctuate month to month, but over time, catalogs tend to stabilize. Self-publishing also allows authors to spread risk across multiple titles rather than concentrating it in a single release. One book does not need to succeed for the career to continue. Learning compounds, skills improve, decisions become more strategic. Career sustainability in self-publishing is closely tied to adaptability. Authors can change direction, update books, shift genres, or explore new formats without asking permission. This flexibility allows careers to evolve alongside personal growth and market changes. Another important aspect of sustainability is emotional resilience. Traditional publishing can create high emotional stakes around acceptance, rejection, and external judgment. Self-publishing shifts that pressure inward. Authors are responsible for outcomes, which can be empowering or overwhelming depending on personality and support systems. Neither model guarantees stability. Traditional publishing can feel secure early but uncertain later. Self-publishing can feel uncertain early but stabilizing later. The timing of risk is different, not its existence. Hybrid approaches are increasingly common. Some authors combine traditional and self-publishing to balance risk and opportunity. Others move between models over time as goals change. Sustainability does not require loyalty to one path. The most sustainable careers are built intentionally. Authors who understand their tolerance for risk, their financial needs, and their creative priorities are better equipped to choose a model that supports longevity rather than short-term validation. Risk is not something to eliminate. It is something to place wisely. In the final section, we'll bring everything together and focus on choosing the publishing path that fits you best, based on goals, values, and long-term vision rather than comparison or pressure. And finally, let's talk about choosing the path that fits you best. Choosing between self-publishing and traditional publishing is not a decision about worth, talent, or legitimacy. It is a decision about fit. The publishing path that works best for you depends on your goals, your working style, your tolerance for uncertainty, and how you want your career to unfold over time. One of the most important questions to ask yourself is how much control you want over your work. Some authors feel energized by making decisions, testing strategies, and shaping every part of their publishing process. Others prefer collaboration, structure, and having decisions shared or guided by professionals. Neither preference is right or wrong. They simply point toward different models. Another key factor is patience. Traditional publishing often requires long waiting periods from querying to publication to results. Some authors are comfortable with that pace and appreciate the distance it creates from daily performance metrics. Others find long timelines frustrating and prefer the faster feedback loops of self-publishing. Your relationship with time matters more than comparisons with other authors. Financial expectations also play a role. Some authors value the idea of an advance, even if it is modest, because it provides upfront validation and reduces immediate risk. Others are willing to invest in themselves in exchange for higher long-term earning potential and direct access to their revenue streams. Understanding your financial comfort zone is essential. Creative identity is another consideration. If your work is deeply personal, experimental, or niche, self-publishing may offer the freedom to present it exactly as you intend. If your work aligns well with existing market categories and you value industry positioning, traditional publishing may provide useful amplification. The question is not which path is more respected, but which path allows your work to exist authentically. Career flexibility is also worth examining. Self-publishing allows authors to change direction, update books, switch genres, or explore new formats quickly. Traditional publishing offers stability within a framework, but is less flexible once contracts are signed. Consider how much room you want to grow and change over time. It is also important to release the idea that you must choose one path forever. Publishing careers evolve. Some authors begin in traditional publishing and move to self-publishing. Others do the opposite. Many combine both. Hybrid careers are increasingly common and often strategically powerful. Comparison can distort decision-making. Seeing another author succeed on a particular path does not mean that path will suit you. Every career is shaped by timing, genre, audience, and personal circumstances. Choosing based on alignment rather than imitation leads to better outcomes. Sustainability should guide the decision more than excitement. The right path is the one you can maintain creatively, emotionally, and practically over years, not months. Burnout is more damaging than slow growth. Ultimately, publishing is a tool. It exists to support your work, not define your value. Whether you choose self-publishing, traditional publishing, or a combination of both, success comes from clarity, consistency, and intentional choices. When you choose the path that fits you best, publishing becomes less about proving something and more about building something. That shift is where long-term satisfaction and meaningful careers are formed.
Welcome to Cosmo Publishing. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to learn all about self-publishing. We are a turnkey quality service provider, from interior formatting to custom covers and everything in between, including book marketing and advertising. It is the company that books a lot.